Thanks to our sponsor donedeal.ie, we bring you Business Bites, the best bits of that great business show, served up in individual servings.
DoneDeal Motors is home to Ireland's largest range of new and premium used cars. That's why you'll find cars from Audi and BMW dealerships on DoneDeal. Are you looking for a 7-seater to accommodate your growing family? Maybe you're after a luxury saloon to make a statement. We have the car for you. You'll also find Ireland's largest range of electric cars to help you make the switch. Visit donedeal.ie today to start the search for your next car.
From episode 131, food producers Erica Sheehan of Homespun, Ger Devin of West Cork Biscuits, and Gavin Cassidy of Porter and Nash explain how they got to the top of the queue to get on to the Supervalu Food Academy. The Supervalu Taste of local guest stars will soon be in the 150 Supervalu stores nationwide. It is one of a number of programs by retailers to help Indigenous food producers to grow by giving, in this case, 5 guest stars a taste of the big time and listing them across the country. There is a very, very long queue to get onto the program. So if you want to be a bicky baker or a pizza producer, what are the hacks to get to the top of that queue? We have 3 of the 5 winners with us in studio. The other 2 were too busy making and baking. So I am delighted to welcome Erica Sheehan of Homespun, Ger Devin of West Cork Biscuits, and Gavin Cassidy of Porter and Nash to that great business show. Welcome all.
Thank you very much.
I love there's a little gap there that always makes me very nervous. Is, oh God, these fellas are never going to talk. They talked the hind leg off me 5 seconds ago. We always start with a very hard question. Erica, are you ready?
Go.
Why is quinoa pronounced quinoa?
Oh my goodness, that comes up all the time at tastings. Yes, it's quinoa. So we joke sometimes that we're keen on quinoa.
Why is it called quinoa, not quinoa as it is spelt?
Do you know, if you have the answer for me, I'd love to know.
Tell us about your business. You have a quinoa crunch. The brand name is Homespun, and sitting in front of me here is literally now gorgeous, really gorgeous packaged product.
Thank you so much. So I started Homespun in 2016 after a career in, I suppose, the media originally, and then in PR. I always wanted to set up my own business. And frankly, that's a beat that just inside got louder and louder, this urge to do my own thing. And the only thing I really had a real feel for was food. And I started my business at the Honest to Goodness Farmers Market in Glasnevin in Dublin. Great springboard for food brands, and just loved it from the get-go. I knew that was it.
You worked in PR, you said. Was that awful that you decided to actually set up your own business? Because your own business is difficult, very difficult.
It is definitely hard work. I think you really need to love what it is that you decide to devote yourself to. And luckily, I love food. I sleep, eat and breathe it. So that aspect of it is effortless. And if you love it, it'll get you through the hard times. I was actually doing PR for Coca-Cola, somewhat ironically now, given that I have a health and wellness brand. Amazing company, amazing brands, really creative and commercial environment. To be honest with you, you know, as regards where we are now with the Homespun brand, I don't think I'd even be where I am if it hadn't been for that background. So really appreciate it. But I definitely had the 7-year itch. And as I say, I always want to do my own thing. And it was always going to be food for me.
So you did a Coca-Cola MBA. Gavin, Gavin, your company's Porter and Nash. What does Porter and Nash do?
We make plant-based gravies and sauces.
Why?
This actually started from, we went back to college, myself and Owen. And, Owen Lennon being my business partner. So we went back to college, and a module in the college was actually product development.
Where were you?
In Tala, in TU Tala. And so a module was for product development, a new product development. And we developed a lot of products, and we thought this one was unique. So we did a lot of research, and it was unique. There wasn't a gravy, a plant-based gravy with infused with seaweed on the market.
I'd say there probably wasn't.
No,
funnily enough.
So that's where it happened, and then we were advised, or we were asked maybe to go to the Food Academy, which was a great move. With the Food Academy, it makes it a lot easier to get into retail. Like, retail is tough. So and
the Food Academy, but just to remind people, is run by Supervalu.
It's run by Supervalu, Supervalu Food Academy, yeah, and it's great. It gives you a footing there to get into to retail, and it has, all the backing that you need, all the expertise, all the, you can ask them any question anytime. You can pick up the phone.
Well, I'm going to ask you in a second as to how you got onto that, but what was the background that got you into food in the first place?
Oh, right, yeah, I've been chefing for the last 35 years, and yeah, I loved it. Always loved cooking. And just, I travelled. I went to Australia for a while. I travelled. And, constantly been cooking for 35 years in a lot of different places.
Now, we've all seen the cookery shows where they're all shouting at you in the kitchen and all the rest. So it is a tough business. But is it a walk in the park compared to running your own business?
Oh, ooh, yeah, no. It's on par. It's quite difficult.
That's an honest answer. Good.
Yeah, but it's as I say, the help is great. And without the help, it's pretty daunting.
Did you ever think of giving up your new business?
Did I ever think of giving it up?
Yeah, did you wake up one day? I think I'll just go back into a kitchen.
Oh yeah, there's definitely days that are tough. Really tough. And obviously when you're trying to build a brand. It's tough, but persevere and hopefully you'll get through it, which we have.
And doing well. So let me go back to Ger Devin of West Cork Biscuits. Now, when you listen to Ger's voice, he is definitely not from West Cork. What is your background? How did you get into it?
My background is I've been in the retail trade for about 35 years. Started out repping with a company called Albright & Wilson doing Procter & Gamble, selling detergent and nappies. And I progressed to biscuits. So about 13 years ago, I started my own business. And part of my business was I linked up with the enterprise board. And they saw I had a background in biscuits. And they put me in touch with Richard and Jane Graham.
Is this your local Enterprise office or Enterprise Ireland or? Enterprise
board in Cork, of all places. We had a conversation, met them through a networking meeting, and they said, we'd love you to chat to some people in Cork. And I said, yeah, let's go down and have a chat. Richard and Jane met them, and they're baking biscuits up on the top of a mountain in Dunmanway in a place called Mulrish.
Probably the most beautiful place ever to make a bickie.
Absolutely. You just can't get to it. You can't even get a 40-foot, never mind a rigid truck up the road to it.
So how do you get up and down actually as a real business case?
As a real business case, we had to move premises.
Oh, okay.
If you can understand, Richard and Jane started off baking patisserie royale for the markets. Richard's background was purely about chefing, knew everything about chefing, knew how to make foods, made it for the high-end trade and everything else. And he did the markets, and then he suddenly discovered there was no money in baking fancy cakes like they do in France, and so he started making biscuits. And then he started to produce a brand called Cookies a Character. So I went down anyway, had a look at this, and it was really interesting because we had one little shed on the side at the back of the house, which was a bakery, and we had another shed across the yard, which was the packing shed. So when it rained, you really couldn't pack biscuits because you run the gauntlet of the rain with the biscuits in the tray to get across to pack and get back. Anyway, all fun and games. And basically we took the business by the scruff of the neck. I knew my way around the trade. Richard knew his way around the biscuits. So we came to an agreement. He'd never talked to a customer and I'd never bake a biscuit. And we've never clashed since.
And millions have been made since.
Absolutely.
Have you all been on the Food Academy, first of all?
Yeah,
Erica? Yeah,
that was pretty much my first move.
How did you get onto that? Because that's what we're here to talk about. I want you all to tell me what's the secret of getting onto the Food Academy?
So I applied early in case I didn't get it. I thought if I had to apply a few times, I'm just going to go for it right away.
And by early, you mean?
Pretty much, while I was in the farmer's market at that time, I didn't have, proper packaging. I didn't have a brand, really. I was just, I suppose, testing whether people would be prepared to hand over their money for our quinoa crunch granolas, which they were. And that gave me, I suppose, I felt like I verified my assumptions. And then my next step was to apply to the Food Academy. Was absolutely thrilled to get on. I remember.
Did you get on first time?
Yes, I did. And I was absolutely delighted. It was summer of 2016. Certainly at the time, it was 4 separate days, very immersive training, a little bit like a boot camp. Musgraves Supervalu introduce you to subject matter experts, key people in the business. You learn about small business accounting, something I didn't have a breeze about. You learn about marketing. You learn about, basic things like, the difference between markup and margin, and, it was absolutely invaluable. But I mean, they really bring out the top brass in the business. Your hand is held. It's a fantastic process. And coming from the background I did in Coke, I knew that was not the reception that, people in the grocery world get from the multiples, normally. So it's a fantastic program. It's very, very practical. But one thing I would say that I personally benefited from a lot was the network that you get. You start making friends with a lot of other food businesses, and that's the gift that keeps on giving, really, because you remain in contact, and you're always helping each other out, trading bits of intel and leads on whether it's packaging or suppliers or what have you.
And that is something we keep telling people on That Great Business Show, is that businesses help other businesses, so long as they're not eating your lunch. Isn't that it? Now, Ger Devin, you have, to pick up on what Erica was saying there, you've actually been selling it for many years into the multiple. So you know how those people, those lovely people, operate. Have you been skinned by them?
Absolutely. And if you're not skinned every day, you don't learn something every day. So every day you go out and you learn something more. Even this morning I was out packing shelves in a local Supervalu, putting the product on the shelf. What I found was when we kind of did a slightly different way to go into the Food Academy than Erica did. We actually went around the local stores in Cork and we approached the individual stores and asked could we put it in a little bit cheekier, and we got our product on the shelf.
Now, people say that, but how difficult is that? I mean, you knock on the door and they say, not another bunch of bickies.
Absolutely. And that's where you've got to have full faith in your product. Take out a biscuit and say, taste it. Let's eat it together, eat a biscuit, and just see the reaction on their face. Talk about them, how you're going to do, what are you going to do for that business, how it's going to be beneficial for them to have your product on the shelf. Once we got that, we then got, again, we had to apply to the Food Academy, and then we got grilled on a day of interview process where a whole team came down. Part of the grilling, though, I really enjoyed it because I was used to dealing with the multiples from another side. But this grilling was, we're going to hold your hand through the grilling. We're going to help you get through the grilling. And we're going to make sure you come out the grill on the other side. It was a great learning process. And like Erica said, I was expecting to go in and come out with nothing on the back. But I actually said, I came out with my shirt. That was great. But I came out with a great learning curve. And it was really more encouragement that they want you to make it in the business. I went in very ambitious that I could service all 250 stores straight away. And a man said to me, looked to me, and I remember turning around and he said, look, I know you, Dev. Yeah, I know you. Can we just start with 15 stores and get them really spotting right? And I also remember saying to myself, he's trying to tell me something here. I'm not too sure, but I'll work it out in a second. And it was very true. To get your process set up, to get your ingredients set up, to get the whole trading part worked out, make sure your barcode's right, your packaging is right, your shelf-ready concept is right, and you've got to get all these right. Let's get it right in 10, 15 stores. Make all your mistakes. And then when you get the next move, you're moving on and you're moving on and you're moving on.
Now, I know from what Ger's just said that we can all call him Dev. Did you hear that? Because we're pals now. Gavin, you have already said you were on the Food Academy. When did you go on to the Food Academy and how did you get on?
We got on in 2018. So we went on and we pitched, like everyone, you have to pitch your product. So before we pitched our product, we did a bit of research what was trending at the time. So veganism was trending, seaweed was trending. So we married the two together and we came up with this product. And yeah, so the Supervalu Food Academy liked the product. So like Erica and Dev Erica and Dev have said, it's holding your hand through the process, and I'm coming from food service, and retail is completely different. It's okay making a product or so, but getting it on a shelf is hard. Getting it off a shelf is even harder. So with the Supervalu Food Academy, all the support that you're given is it brings you along that journey and gets you onto the shelf. And yes, it's only a couple of stores to start with, but then it progresses and it grows. With there's a lot of things that you can do, like a lot of advertising through all your different social medias, and Supervalu again help you with that. Which is great. It's a good program.
And growing is great, but growing can also cause its own problems. There are a couple of things I'll tell you. Once upon a time, I was with the people from 8 Degrees Brewing, and they created a space on the shelf to get their beer onto it. Others followed, pushed them off. They had to go and create again to get back on again. And I could hear tough. So, Erica, has anybody tried to eat your... Obviously, lots of people have eaten your quinoa, but has anybody tried to eat your lunch?
So, I mean, maybe that will come. I mean, Homespun is about healthier alternatives to what's on offer. So our quinoa crunch is, better for you granola. Our chicory root syrup.
That's good, isn't it? It's the ad is there.
Our chicory root syrup is a low sugar vegan honey alternative. So what we're doing is a little bit different, and we like to think that we're a little bit ahead of the curve. I think it's certainly the way the market is going, but we're out there, we're doing what we're doing, and really, really pleased with the way it's going.
Well, you start with 15 odd or whatever it is that you start with, but when you get to 150 or 250 stores, it's just another planet. So you have to produce for that number of stores. And if it doesn't sell, you'll be looking at a lot of boxes for many years to come.
Yeah, I remember. So when we were in the farmers market, we used to make everything ourselves. And I realised, that this was not sustainable, into the future, that I really needed to get a partner in terms of manufacturing. And
so what you had been doing was you were mixing this on your kitchen table type of thing?
Literally, we were making it ourselves. Now, the HSE had come out and inspected it and everything was being done right and everything. But it was hard work, I can tell you. You have kind of a lot of respect for people who do the manufacturing when you've done it yourself. And I think it's really, really important to do it yourself so you're very familiar with your own processes. Obviously, so what happened in our case was once we were in the farmers market and I was really bitten by the bug and we got onto the food academy, I decided, okay, I'm a real believer in, focus your time and energy on what you're good at. And I certainly love the sales. I love the marketing. I love the new product development. I like being out and about, connecting with retailers and so forth. But I really don't know anything about large scale manufacturing or anything like that. So we identified a lovely bakery, also in West Cork, who do all of our baking for us.
You're allowed to give them a shout out if you want.
Yes, they're called Biagán Brescia and they're in Ballingeary. And if Catherine, if you're listening, and Rolandus and the rest of the team, they're fantastic people. And I always say that they're, this would be a bit of advice to anyone who might be listening in, looking to, because it is the eternal question for a startup food businesses. Do you go down that kind of path of continuing to produce yourself, or do you outsource production? I would say, if you can find people who are big enough to do things right, but small enough to want to talk to you, that's the sweet spot. And so our manufacturers definitely fall into that category.
And how did you find them? Because that'll be the next question. Say, there must be a dozen or 5 dozen manufacturers out there.
Well, how I found them was, certainly when we were in the farmers market, everybody loved the taste of our quinoa crunch, and I wanted to make sure that the standards didn't slip. So taste is everything when it comes to food. I mean, obviously you like the packaging and so forth, but at the end of the day, it's all about taste. So I wanted to find a bakery that does things right. And what I did was I went at it backwards. I said, who in Ireland has won awards for what they do?
Okay, that's a good one. I like that.
Thank you. I've actually told a lot of startups about that one.
We always tell people, go in for awards. They're free normally, and you never know, such as you, where it'll get you. They've got business out of that award.
Yeah. So I linked up with the bakery we work with, and that was the same for the folks in County Laois who bottle our chicory root syrup for us, G's Jams, lovely family business there.
Dev, you don't mind if I call you Dev?
I don't mind at all, you're fine.
You're obviously manufacturing yourselves there,
Absolutely.
But now, if you are going to 150 or 250 stores, that's a big, big jump.
Yeah, it is. So what you do, you buy yourself a Ford Transit van and you don't drive around the cushy car anymore, and that's what I did.
And you are knocking on every Supervalu store, first thing in the morning, last thing at night.
Yeah. So what I did was that I managed to find people that are passionate about the business, similar to myself. I have guys who work within the business. So what I should say to you, just before I started with the bakery, I started a field marketing business as well for merchandising and contract salespeople. And that's where I still get the people from. And I still have these guys working with me. and we're onto central billing within Supervalu. So it's a matter of trying to build up that network, and that takes time. Shoe leather, first of all, your own shoe leather, first of all. Go out and prove it to someone that it does sell. I'd have no problem loading up the van, load of biscuits, heading off into the West, meeting the retailers, how we keeping, how we doing. Even with Supervalu and on the guest star list this time round, we got into stores that we didn't get in beforehand, and we were only down one of them the other day down in Houston Station, and the guy turned around and said, I want the rest of the range in. Now, we've been knocking on that door. Don't ask me how many different ways.
That is fantastic to hear.
But it just, you've got to keep going. Shoe leather, in, out, in, out.
And remind people, how many years have you been an overnight success since you've been an overnight success? When did you start? Not your original journey, but when did you start working with the Bickies?
10 years ago I started working with the Bickies.
So now you're being accepted. That's just to remind people, it's a long time.
You've just got to keep on. And the other thing about it is, just because you're in a store doesn't mean you're going to be permanently there either. So you'll be in a store. So I was in Sundrive there today, going around to Sundrive, and I was in the store. I was out of the store. Then I got back in the store. Then something else happened in the store. Now I'm back. I was out for a while, and now I'm back in again.
And by out of store, you mean that you have been effectively delisted?
No, just my space went on the shelf.
What does that mean? Do you come up and flick them with the other people off?
No, my space got lost in over a period of time, and they changed the program. They changed the fixture around the store, and now they have a home. Now they have an actual spot in the store for Food Academy.
But the other ones have. I know the one in Mount Marion definitely had anyway.
They did.
And Clonakilty is a huge supporter,
Absolutely,
I think, as well. Yeah. We're going to run out of business, so run out of time, should I say. I could talk to you about this all the time.
You could.
Because it's bloody difficult. I keep saying bloody difficult, but everybody in business knows it's bloody difficult. Yeah. But somebody nicking your space.
Oh, it's just...
Gavin, same question.
That happens a lot.
Does it? But who else is making vegan seaweed gravy?
Yeah, we did. As I said, we researched it. We got Board B to actually research it to see was it anywhere else in the world
Did that
producing
cost you
anything.
To go to Board B?
No, not at all.
Please listen to that. Board B is sitting there.
Yeah.
They are another resource. Your taxes have paid for them. Use them.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I forgot the question.
I was asking about you and getting on space, and somebody comes along and pushes you off. But they weren't selling, presumably, vegan seaweed gravy, because nobody else makes it, I presume.
We obviously a unique product, so we had to educate the customer on how to utilise the product. Uh-huh. So the way we were doing it was we would go in and do tastings here. We'd write up recipes surrounding the product. At the moment, we have a recipe cookbook on porternash.ie.
Why is it called Porter Nash? I meant to ask you that initially.
That's a strange question, actually. It's a strange answer. It was a pint of porter in Nash Street.
But of course.
Yeah.
Makes total sense now.
Well, I tell you, it's a more clever way of branding that I've heard a lot of other people who spend 25 or 250,000 euro.
A name is so difficult.
Yeah.
It really is. A name is so difficult.
I keep telling people, 2 cheap bottles of wine, locked door.
Absolutely.
And that's the end of it at that.
Or a couple of pints of porter.
Well, there you go. Same idea. West Cork Bickies. I mean, that's it. Now, I have to wrap this because before I do, I have 2 questions each for you. One question for all of you is one tip to anybody and everybody listening, how or what they should do to get onto the Food Academy, or to get into food. Or maybe you're going to say, don't go into food. Erica.
Yeah, well, if your mind is made up and that's the route you want to go, I would say if you're not already going to your local Supervalu store, start going, because your local store is a huge asset. My local store, Mount Marion, fantastic, a bunch of people, and they have done things, I'm not even sure if I should be saying this on air, but they have printed off all sorts of helpful information about the category for me, and given me a lot of insight and support and intel. So talk to retailers. Friends and family will sugarcoat things for you, but retailers absolutely won't. Go in a quiet Tuesday morning and be nice, and they will be very, very helpful.
Top tip, Ger, what's yours?
Think big, very big. Have a plan mapped out in your head. Know where you want to go and work it. And talk to the retailers.
You see, now you said the word big, which means overseas. But I'll have to have you all back in again to talk about it. Have any of you gone overseas yet?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
You've already? Not yet?
No, but we have a trademark in the US.
In the US?
Yeah.
That's very interesting. Sorry, as I say, you're all coming back again because I have to ask more questions. Dev, one good tip for people to get onto the Food Academy, please.
Talk to the retailer.
That's the same as, yeah?
Absolutely. Go in and talk to lads, but have that plan in your hand. Know what you want to do and be absolutely passionate about it and stick to it. But get the feedback and then adjust your plan. But keep moving forward. Don't stop just because you get a wallop on the back of the head and someone says, "Gee, you're not coming in here." You go back out again. You keep on going. 10 years later, I got into a store.
Gavin, your top tip, please.
Yeah. Do your research. Find the gap in the market. Find the product that's suitable for that gap in the market. And work on the product until it's up and it's mastered, and then bring it to the Supervalu Food Academy.
Now, you have all been asked to check out Hire in a Heartbeat. Gavin, who would you hire in a heartbeat?
Well, I've been following Sam Denigan over in the States.
Sam.
Yeah. So I would hire him in a heartbeat. He's doing really well over in the States, and that would be a great little door to open for myself. Yeah,
well,
strong roots.
It would,
yeah.
And he's a lovely guy.
We have an export product. It's an ambient product with a good shelf life.
If I were to ask you 5 or 10 years ago, did you have an ambient product with a good shelf life? What would you have said to me?
I would have said I might have one in the kitchen somewhere.
There you go. That is fantastic. But all of you coming back because I need to know more. Ger, you're Hire in a Heartbeat.
It's going to be up to one of the children if they'd even come on board.
One of your kids?
One of my kids.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'd like to see this business keep on going on in the future. And how do you make it? How do you continue with a business in the future? It's going to be the next generation. It's not going to be me. We've 35 families living out of a bakery in Dunmanway.
That is fantastic.
We want to keep it going that way.
Yeah. Okay. Well, just for listeners, he's looking very healthy at the moment.
Thank you.
He's looking really well. And Erica, what is your Hire in a Heartbeat?
So, certainly someone I would love to have a coffee with would be Chupi Sweetman from Chupi,
Chupi, yeah.
Jewellery, the luxury jewellery brand. Personally, for me, packaging, design, I put a huge amount of effort into the way our homespun products look and feel. And I love the Chupi brand. I really admire Chupi Sweetman in terms of how she's grown her business from a one-woman operation and scaled it internationally, selling her beautiful brand in 52 countries. Making everything seem special, a lot of attention to detail. We put a lot of effort into our packaging, and I think food. It's a sensory experience. It's certainly about how things taste, but I think things. There are moments when they can be special, and food is not can be part of that. It's not outside of that, and just making things look and feel beautiful. And I think she's done an amazing job with that.
Nice choice. From all of you, actually. Please say that you will all come back because I want to hear about the export journey because that gets even more difficult. You're all going to export, are you?
Hopefully.
Yeah, good. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Erica, Ger, Dev, and Gavin, thank you so much for joining us on That Great Business Show.
Want to increase sales, reduce overheads, and provide customers with a better service? Then use Big Red Web, the easiest way to develop and maintain your website. It gives you powerful business reporting, digital marketing, and automatically integrates with the award-winning Big Red cloud accounting software. It's a game changer for SME businesses. It's so good, the government gives you a €2,500 grant towards it. Big Red Web, e-commerce made simple. BigRedCloud.com/web.
De facto shaving oil, made only from natural oils. Nothing nasty on your skin.
This interview was first posted on episode 131 of That Great Business Show, essential listening for everyone in food-related businesses. For more great business insights, do listen back to our entire back catalogue of That